Hi everyone, so earlier tonight we had the Season 7 PTR announcements and they were actually pretty good. I'm gonna go through some of the details here. There's also this blog post showing what is coming, not the entire patch notes. They will come next Wednesday ahead of the Thanksgiving holidays, and the PTR will go live on the 3rd of December. What it means for me is that I'll have a week to prepare the PTR and then 3 days to play it, because we also had the PoE 2 announcements. And we know that the early access is starting on the 6th of December, and I'm gonna jump right in. So in case you're wondering about that, I found the announcements superb. It looks incredible, and I think it's gonna blow everything away when it launches. So with that being said, I will have a separate video talking about PoE 2, and now let's go through the Season 7 campfire chat, which actually also looked relatively decent, to be honest. So we did talk about the dates. December 3 to December 10 is when you're gonna be able to play the PTR. You'll be able to copy your characters. There's also some upgrades that I have done to the PTR, but it will be reserved only for PC Battle.net players as usual. So the console audience will not be able to participate here. The Season 7 launch is on the 21st of January. This is something we already knew from in-game. It shows actually when the season ends, so just keep that in mind. There's going to be quite a long break until we actually get all the stuff. Now, what is actually coming? Well, number one, we are not really getting like new fancy content, like, you know, Infernal Horde style or some crazy reworks like in Season 4 or something like that, but they are adding a lot of stuff for all of the classes. So there's going to be like new uniques. So I'm going to go through them real quick afterwards. I also have some screenshots actually from this that I can show a little bit. And there's going to be also some reworks to some mechanics here. And on top of this, we're going to get a borrowed power season theme again. So to talk about the season theme real quick, is like a witchcraft season theme. So you can see this here. So it's totally not Millennium monsters that are going to be fighting, and totally not vampiric powers that are going to be getting. But this is basically how it works. It's like a combination of Season 1 and Season 2. It does look fairly solid and fun, but it certainly doesn't get any points for innovation. It's like basically a copy pasta from previous seasons. So you have this interface here. You can like slot in a bunch of powers. You can rank them up. So it's basically Season 2. There's also like these altars that you can find here. We can unlock some of them. Apparently they're going to be in dungeons spread out. So it's going to be like Lilith Altars 2.0, but in dungeons this time, it seems. And you also have like this reward track here where you get a resplendent spark at the end. So this is all kind of like old stuff where as you play the season, you get some rewards and you get some things there. This is like some examples of the powers. They're also all listed, not like with all the ranks and all of their values, but you can actually see what the powers do. And then you can already think about some of the combinations. Realistically, I guess we'll have to wait until the PTR to really see what they all do, because just reading them doesn't really give you the full picture here. And we also don't know if like they're actually working the way we think they do and so on. But there's a lot of interesting stuff there. You can like definitely take existing builds that don't change in a big way in the season and actually try something new with them. And this is kind of the big advantage of these borrowed power season themes. We didn't really have those for a little while because we had major game reworks every single season in the last 3 seasons. So it didn't really make much sense to do a season theme like this, but now we don't have that, and well, we're getting this, and that's actually pretty cool. So even builds that, you know, feel kind of like settled in will actually have something to play with. In general, this entire season theme is going to be focused around whispers. There's going to be extra new whispers that can pop up. There's also these gems here. They are also totally not Medallion hearts from Season 1. You can socket them into your jewelry. They give you like some extra powers. And yeah, they also like synergize together with those totally not vampiric powers, witchcraft powers, I mean, that you have in your other like interface there. And depending on what you have slotted, you get some extra bonuses here. So here's some more information about how the season theme works. So these guys are called the Head Rotten. They're basically these new special elites that you can find. And then there's also these Head Hunts. This is basically like the Blood Tides from Season 2. Where like the entire zone is taken over, and there's like tons of whispers. As you can see, there's like new stuff here as well that you can unlock, and this is where you can find those monsters, and you can get like a lot of whispers done there really fast, for example, and then grind up these new vampiric witchcraft powers. Here's an example of some of those occult gems. These are the ones that you put into your rings and amulets here. So when you have, you know, certain powers slotted, you gain a bonus, or they amplify certain powers they can get there. So this is kind of what this looks like here, and there's going to be, I don't know, like 30 different powers to choose from, and maybe like 10 of these different gems or something like that. So you can also go read up on those. For now, I don't really have like, you know, a real picture of like what is the good and the bad ones. I guess I'll give it a bit of time and try to cook a little bit and see how what we find out, and what kind of combos seem promising here. But again, it will really remain a mystery until the PTR actually goes live, because some of those mechanics are big unknowns here. There's also a bunch of other new stuff coming. For example, some new runes. We have that here. So for example, you can now generate offering in other ways, especially with summons. There's like a new thing here, the Nagu rune. In general, they've actually done some pretty big rework with summons and minions. So there's going to be like a new keyword now, apparently, that is applied to anything that gives you like extra characters basically that help you out. This also includes even stuff like the Shadow Clone, and believe it or not, apparently Shadow Clone is going to be a big deal in the next season with a summon rework. The TLDR of that is that summons can now apply every damage type and every damage instance and every lucky hit effect just like a player character. So there is essentially an extension of your player character, and when they hit, they can apply lucky hits, and they can also scale with all of your damage multipliers. This was a big deal, especially for the Shadow Clone that just didn't really work with anything. So it seems like they have like recoded this whole system here, and in general this should make a lot of bugs disappear. They also specifically talked about the Druid companions, for example, with Storm's companion that had a lot of bugs with like tags not working and all this kind of stuff. And personally, all of that is getting addressed. So this is definitely one of the strong points in this season as well, where it seems like they're not really trying to add a lot of like crazy new stuff outside of the theme itself, but they're actually kind of making good on the promise of consolidating what they have, fixing stuff, fixing the overall balance issues, and maybe more stuff that will get addressed in this patch. So we don't know, as I said, we don't have all the patch notes. This campfire chat was relatively short. It seems like it's generally going in a good direction. They're making some pretty cool new items as well that will definitely shake up the meta in some classes. The builds that we have available as well. So I can also show some of those screenshots that we have here with what they're doing. So here, for example, is some rogue boots that are based on shadow imbuement and mobility skills. So especially something like a shadow step build, or even with dash, you could try to use this. You can try to like permanently shadow imbue your stuff. You can trigger free shadow imbuement explosions, so you can actually deal damage to targets even when they don't die, and this kind of stuff. So it sounds kind of interesting. There's definitely a bit of variety here that they're introducing with builds that were otherwise maybe not really the cutting edge. And there's also like some other cool new stuff that they're adding. For example, here is something for hurricane druids. Now your wolves can have the hurricanes around them as well. So this sounds actually pretty busted, to be honest. Hurricane is already a pretty strong build out there for druid standards, and this might actually really like shoot it to the moon. Then we have also some other like werewolf stuff here for the druids. They're getting a lot of like werewolf buffs in general. For example, stuff like this here, you get like extra damage while you're staying in werewolf form when you blood howl. So this could be like a really cool thing. Boulder is getting some poison upgrade and so on. So there's a bunch of stuff. There's also something interesting here for the Sorks. They're getting two separate unique focuses that both work for the same skill. So this is for ball lightning. They're apparently reworking the gravitational aspect to no longer make the ball lightning's orbit. This is now part of this one focus here, and now it creates like this static field around you that deals damage all the time. And then there's the other one where you can create super ball lightnings, and you actually shoot them out at range and then they explode or something. So seems like they're actually starting to experiment with like alternative playstyles for the same skill, which is really cool. This is something that I have been asking for personally a lot. And for example, I was talking about this in my rogue feedback lately with twisting blades, where I would really like to see something like you can play with the spinny blades on the blade dancer aspect, or you can play with just the returning blades and like hyper buff them, and you can have like one poison build and one cold build, for example, and play them in very different ways with like for example lots of movement on the returning blade playstyle. So it seems like they're trying to do something like that and trying to expand the repertoire of classes. So that's really cool. We'll see how strong the stuff will really end up being. For now, that's kind of hard to say. Ball lightning is kind of okay, I guess, but mostly not a top tier contender, I guess. But we'll see. There's going to be more changes in there that we don't know about. Also some other small stuff here. They will also be working some stuff on the Sork, for example, removing the need for like burning enemies all the time. For example, here's the Devouring Blades rework. This only works for pyromancy skills now though, so keep that in mind. This does not buff all of your damage anymore, so if there's no compensation for this, which I guess there will be, this might actually also nerf some builds. Just kind of keep that in mind. Some enchantment reworks here. I was kind of hoping for like an overall enchantment system rework at some point. I'm not sure if you're still getting that or if that will ever happen, or, you know, if they're at least like reworking, you know, enchantments like one by one or something throughout the patches. But I think that system is definitely one of the weak points of the sword class as a whole. And we're getting stuff like this that a lot of people are shaking their heads for. So I'm not sure what this was supposed to be, but yeah, there's going to be some good and bad stuff in this patch. Generally good, I would say. Interesting stuff here for the buffs. There's also this Earthquake stuff. There's going to be some Hoda and Earthquake combo. There's also a new unique for that, and extra synergies on that end. And also like some other like small buffs they threw in there here for the different classes. Neko's getting actually some pretty interesting stuff. We have that here. So it's lots of overpower stuff, lots of blood stuff and bone spear stuff. So here now we have like a blood wave item where you can like cast 2 blood waves at the same time and they pull enemies together in the middle. So that's kind of cool here. There's also this Indira's memory that gives you like a blood spear instead of a bone spear, and then you use corpses to shoot more of those blood spears. Sounds kind of funny, but you have to like solve, you know, like life recovery and somehow get a lot of life gain back all the time. We're also getting some nerfs for Spiritborn. I guess that kind of is expected. We're getting first of all a lot of bug fixes, so all of this, like, you know, trillions and trillions of damage is going to disappear. And on top of this, we're getting nerf to at least a lot of Kopeleke. I do expect some more nerfs as well, because even with all this stuff, I expect Spiritborn on the rather strong side of things. But we'll see. Kopeleke, kind of early to tell, but it does seem like it can still be used for some builds. I'm not sure it's going to be the meta choice for every single core skill anymore, but it has gotten quite a heavy nerf here. So this is like in a range of like ×3 to ×4 almost of a nerf. So this is kind of hefty, but also not unexpected, I gotta say. On the other hand, some other stuff is coming up, like Razorwing buffs, both as a, you know, attack skill and as a utility buff, for example, with, for example, this aspect here. That could be something interesting for the future. We'll see how this will lays out. Some other small stuff here with the Ring of Radiant Moon. Not really sure if this will play out that well, but they're gonna make it a little bit beefier. And here's also another interesting update, which is that every single ultimate skill in the game is going to receive a rank 5 extra bonus. So we have that here, for example, Lacerate at rank 5, it will get crit scaling damage bonus, similar to some of the key passes, for example, that exist, where you stack a certain stat and then that becomes better. We can now also do this with some of the ultimates, for example, or like Soul Rift, for example, has like a health potion refill thing, which is actually relatively good for like potion rune combos and stuff like that you can do with this. So I'm quite excited to see what they have in store here for the other ults. They didn't really show much more, but there are a lot of ultimate skills and all of them are getting a rank 5 bonus. And on top of this, they also made these 2 new aspects here that actually would allow some new ultimate skill builds to shine. We already have pretty strong ones, for example, Blood Wave, that is also getting other big buffs. We have Rain of Arrows on the Rogue, that's really powerful, and potentially some other stuff could start shining a bit more. There's Death Trap on the Rogue, there's potentially something like Iron Maelstrom, or yeah, stuff like the Lacerate that we just saw. So I'm quite excited to see what will come out of this. But ultimate skill builds is definitely like a rather unexplored area for some bunch of classes at least, and I'm really excited to see what we can do with some of them. And last but not least, of course, the Armory. Blizzard has already talked about this. This is coming, confirmed in Season 7. I already expected that timeline, and here we are. So this is similar to the Diablo 3 system, if you know it. If you don't, well, you save a build, so you can save up to 5 builds per character. It basically remembers all of your skills, your paragons, your equipment, and so on. So you have like this neat little overview of what you actually have here. There's like some buttons to save and to edit and so on. You can name them and it will just like auto equip the entire setup for you. A lot of people have been asking for this, and especially with like, for example, pit pushing and then, you know, Tom and 4 speed farming stuff becoming more and more like a reality, and, you know, like the like expected way to play the game efficiently, let's say. I think it's going to be a great boon for a lot of people. It also is confirmed that the respec part of this will not cost you anything, so you can just make the build once, then swap however often you want. I guess you would have to, like, you know, update or override it again at some point, for example, if you level up and, you know, assign a few more points, but overall it will definitely make the whole process a lot easier. And you can also, for example, just, you know, make a build that you like, that you know that you like, and then, you know, spec to another one. And if you don't like that, spec back, boom, you're back to where you started, basically. One thing to note here is that it will not re-imprint your items. So if you're planning to use the same item for 2 different builds with 2 different imprints, then the system will not do that for you. So there might be like a warning or something like that, I'm not 100% sure, but it will not auto imprint everything for you in case you have overlapping items. But I guess it'll be kind of the exception, because most builds have their own stat requirements, their own, you know, like completely different requirements in most cases, and you usually have different items, I guess, on most builds. And that also pretty much sums up this campfire chat. So overall, I think this was a really good campfire. The Armory is coming. I think this is a much requested feature that a lot of people will enjoy, including myself. I will definitely try it and see, and hopefully there's not really any crazy bugs like items disappearing or something like that. But I guess this is also partly what the PTR is for. The witchcraft powers, they do seem pretty cool, and they will definitely spice it up a little bit. And as I mentioned, in general, this seems to be like a pretty big power creep season. So I think a lot of people will enjoy the power, especially the people that didn't like, you know, played the Spirit Bomb before, and now stuff is getting kind of like, you know, tuned down, and you get a lot of the power back. And of course, all the other classes are gonna feel a lot stronger with those powers. There's a lot of pretty cool stuff here. Personally, I really liked season 2 with the vampiric powers. I think this was like you know, pretty safe pick for another season theme to bring something similar back, and a lot of people will like this. However, as I said at the start, in the light of the PoE 2 reveals, we'll see how popular the season 7 will actually be. I think that Diablo 4 definitely has to step up the game quite a bit here to kind of keep the pace, yeah, keep the interest, I guess, of a lot of blasters, especially with PoE 2 being out very soon. But for now, that's what I got here. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for more updates. I'm gonna have some videos on, you know, whatever I find out here with like theory crafting. Next Wednesday, we're going to get the patch notes, and also stay tuned for some of my PoE content, because I'm planning to go ham on that game as well. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time.